Federal Reserve, taxation without representation. This is something that a lot of Americans don't know anything about, what this Federal Reserve is. So tell us a little bit more about the Tea Party and your part in that.
Well, actually, the first annual Tea Party was last year, and I got to start that through Americans for Prosperity, which is a little bit more of a fiscally conservative watchdog group. So you get a lot of the social conservatives in there as well. But I think it's a great opportunity for people who are a lot more libertarian to go in and calmly shift them back to the focus of the Constitution. And that's really what the message of the Tea Party is that we have gone so completely astray from the United States Constitution that most people don't even know what it represents, what it's about, what are our rights. And we consistently allow the government to chip away and chip away and chip away at our rights. For instance, guns, smoking. I mean, any of those things that are politically popular. And eventually, you hear that comment, first they came for these people and I wasn't one of them, so I didn't speak up. And eventually they came for me and there was nobody to speak up.
To me, liberty is actually something that's spiritual. I mean, it's based on like God-given rights. Man or mammon doesn't give you these rights. You're born with them.
Absolutely.
And I watched your interview with Rick Emerson, the smoking debate, as soon as I invited you on, and I'm glad a friend asked me to have you on because I love having Liberty candidates on, but you made a lot of good points, a lot of points that I've made with people. Who was it, how was it their authority to tell an owner of a bar what you can or cannot do in your own establishment? And so a lot of people are going, oh, but I want to be healthy, or I'm going to get sick, or I'm going to get cancer if I will. I mean, I think that's that person's responsibility to not work in that environment. And smoking definitely is hazardous. I struggle with it off and on, but if you don't want to be there, you shouldn't work there.
Well, I guess their major argument was the idea that employees of these places, because jobs are at a premium, and this was even before the big financial crisis, where, well, around that time, but well before unemployment was hitting an all-time high. So the idea really is that this nanny state is taking care of you, and they know better than you do as to what it is that how it is that you should take care of your health. And we see it with big fast food, where they were trying to sue fast food companies, because they're putting in extra ingredients that make you fat or that make you want to eat, and say, come on, guys. We know that the best way to healthcare is diet and exercise, right? We don't really want a situation where the government's coming in and telling you, you can't smoke here, you can't eat this, you can't do that. When is it that they're going to get to something that you truly do care about?
Let's get into what's going on with the state of Oregon, being that this is a national show but also a local show. Your thoughts on the state of Oregon or the governor, the way things are going right now, things that you see perceived to be terribly wrong at this point?
Okay, first and foremost, we have constitutionally mandated programs, which basically say, in the Constitution, these programs you must fund. It's no coincidence, in my opinion, that they fund those programs last. Now, why? I mean, you would ask yourself, wouldn't those be the most important, so wouldn't you fund them first? First off, we have these two measures called Measure 66 and 67, which raised the corporate income tax and the federal or in the income tax for individuals, but only at the highest level because they're politically unviable. The rich people, right? So the idea here is that if you fund these programs that nobody really cares about first, and then you get to the programs that they really do care about, well, like education, law enforcement, transportation, those are pretty important programs. And if we run out of money for those, naturally we're going to go ahead and raise taxes for them. And it's just, in my opinion, a big operation that basically says that this is how we get more money out of the pockets of people, because, well, we don't want the kids out on the streets. We don't want
schools. That's always the number one excuse.
It's always taxes for schools, and we never want, you don't want those prisoners out on the streets, hurting grandmother because we had to kick her out on the street, and then the kids out on the streets, and these criminals are now going to sell the drugs to these kids. It's just this whole PR campaign
How
against
many different
that.
types of taxes are they proposing in Oregon right now? There are so many. I mean, the nicotine to saying cigarette taxes. By the way, the rolling tobacco, that went up 1,200%. Ironically, that's less harmful than the Camel tax. But the taxes really went up, and a lot of people at the bars here in Portland going, what is the state doing to us? Then there are suggestions that they start taxing this on a federal level, Coca-Cola products and things of that nature. So how much stuff are they planning on right now in terms of taxing us?
Well, really what you got to ask yourself is what is politically viable to tax? What is unpopular, really, and what they call a sin tax. And the sin tax is on all of those things that people say, oh, well, you don't really need to do that, right? And so the idea here is that you're putting businesses on the defense, whether or not they're right. I mean, you know, I kind of like walking into a bar now and it's smoke-free, but it should be the bar owner's choice. You know, I should be able to walk in and buy myself a Coca-Cola without it being $5 for a can. And the idea here is that we know what's best for you. We're going to go ahead and tax the heck out of you until, well, either we get all of the money or you're just going to consistently be dependent upon these products that we're going to tax you on.
So this is a common theme that we're talking about here. Oh, we know what's good for you. We think you should take our health care. Otherwise, we're going to fine you. And so I know you've talked about this a little bit on your website, and as a potential senator, I hope you make it, or at least I hope you get the endorsement. This is something that's going to be, needs to be dealt with and discussed truthfully. I don't think there's a lot of truth coming out of the federal government right now as to what this health care bill really is. No. So your thoughts on it?
Well, first off, the reason why I said I'm a normal citizen, I'm a small business owner, is that when you look at federal government, state and local governments, even our own Portland mayor, this is a guy that went from high school to college directly into a mayor's office, and not his own mayor's office. He worked for Mayor Vera Katz. No public or no private business experience at all. And that's what just about every one of our senators and congressmen are looking at. They don't have any real world experience. So how would they know what people like you and I are going through? Then you look at a situation like this healthcare bill. My friend Jason, this guy who's, you know, he's unemployed, doesn't really, you know, he's not a real go-getter, but he's kind of a layman, but he, you know, is a smart guy. And he asked me, you know, Mark, I thought for some reason we were supposed to get free healthcare. And now we all have to pay for it? I don't understand where did that disconnect come from?
The healthcare bill is, have you read it? Parts of it?
It's just, you mean 2,100 pages?
2,100, 1,400.
However,
and then you've got all these different researchers out there that are looking at different things that have been put in the healthcare bill that most people that support it have never read.
Well, it's what's called pork or earmarks, and that's how a bill becomes a law. And they always ask, you know, the two things that you never really want to, or the combination, or what does sausage and a bill have in common? You never really want to know how it's made, and that's really when it comes to a bill. And I mean, all the back office deals that go on and everything that, and you know, the Supreme Court actually outlawed what's called a line item veto, which allows the president to go in there and take out all of this crap that's in a bill. But the idea here is that all of these different senators and congressmen are trying to get theirs for their own people, and usually for their own political cronies.
Speaking about deals behind the scene, I don't know if you heard Salzman's in the news right now. He's on the city council, and they're investigating him and his girlfriend. His girlfriend works for some company that got some contract to the tune of, I believe, $600 million. So Salzman's being looked at right now, and he's been trying to play the good cop in this good cop, bad cop scenario with the Portland police, and Salzman being the police commissioner. But this is not surprising to me that he would be involved in this.
Well, and that's what I mean, is that when they really have no connection to the public at large, they really don't care. It's just, hey, this is free money that's coming out of the pockets of people. And if you don't pay, what happens? You go to jail. I mean, that's really all there is to it. It's not one of those where we have a voluntary system of paying taxes.
Right.
You have to pay it, or you go to jail. And if you refuse to go to jail,
that's true,
then they'll kill you.
That's true. Look, we're going to take some phone calls, but briefly tonight, because we only have a half hour left, so try to keep your comment brief and to the point. Bill, get ready for track number 5. And before we go into this 30-second commercial from Pennsylvania saying, if you don't pay your taxes, Tom, we're going to come after you. Maybe your little dog, Toto, too. But your involvement with the Audit the Fed campaign and where that's going?
Absolutely. Well, it's one of the figureheads of my campaign, or the major points that we look at. The Federal Reserve has been looked at as the fourth branch of government, and it's accountable to no one. It controls the whole monetary supply of the country, and we don't know what they're spending this money on.
Right.
It affects the poor and those on fixed incomes the most, but we don't even really know what's going on.
Are they really out of gold reserves? This is what a lot of people are talking about right now.
Well,
there's just no gold.
And that's what I'm saying, is that the Federal Reserve is consistent of a bunch of banks that are quasi-private, quasi-government.